Hey forum, my name is Manny, aka CascadeScents. Welcome to another video. And as you see by the title, this one is on my longest lasting fragrances for summer 2020. Admittedly, some of the fragrances that I'm about to mention for you, I genuinely think are the most catch-all as far as what most guys could potentially rock. Usually I take the more honest and more selfish standpoint by whenever I make these seasonal lists, they're mainly for fragrances that I genuinely reach for. So if I'm doing my top 10 designer or my top 10 niche, that usually means that those fragrances make those lists because I genuinely think that they're the best and or that I genuinely enjoy them the most. But there's times where I'll make a summer or a seasonal video or maybe another type of video like explain to you that maybe you should check these out, say if they're getting discontinued or not. Videos like that are genuinely for you guys, the buyers and or consumers out there who are just looking to get their nose on something that you didn't realize you wanted or needed. So for this video, for all of these longest lasting fragrances in my collection for the summer, I'd say that each of these lasts at least 9-10 hours on my skin throughout the high heat, and again I feel like are the most catch-all as far as scent for most of you watching out there. So each of these scents are going to have a specific purpose, and whether or not you need those purposes kind of filled up in your day-to-day life, then who knows, you may consider getting a fragrance like this. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Try to take as much of this as you can in, and we'll get this list cracking, starting with my banger type of fragrance. This banger type of fragrance is the kind of put on whenever I'm just trying to put on a show via scent. You know, for those situations when you're seeing friends and or family for the first time throughout this pandemic and now we're able to start seeing each other. Maybe you're going on dates again with loved ones, or you just want something super upbeat that's bound to put a smile on your face. This is that fragrance. And for me, it's this. It's Bleecker Street by Bond No. 9. Now, Bleecker Street is known for that famous cassis opening, which kind of smells more like blueberry than it does blackcurrant. Very fruity, sweet stuff. Again, super jovial, very uplifting. And if people are going to catch a whiff of that long-lasting opening, they might say something about it too. And yeah, for some of these social gatherings, I think 9 to 10 hours longevity is pretty good for a decent projection rate of the first 3 to 4 hours. Really can't hate on that. But just by looking at the bottle, of course, you have some green notes in here, mainly from the violet leaf, which come across as a very grassy, like you're spending some time in your backyard doing yard work and or just a really nice city park. So that kind of grassy, very picturesque. But ultimately, Bond No. 9 advertises this fragrance as an aphrodisiac that kind of transitions from day into evening quite well. And I think this is something that most people miss out on, that maybe they just are so fixated on the opening and mid that they just forget about the dry down. But I definitely do get notes of vanilla and caramel in the back, which I think is kind of weird for me, just because grassy and gourmand doesn't really go together in my personal opinion. But I do think most people are going to feel like it smells good off of them, and if you're getting a lot of that opening well into the mid and or the beginning of the dry down, you might have some of those sweeter notes in the dry down actually amplify what's left of the cassis / blackcurrant. So I think that's potentially really cool. But overall, this fragrance is just super hard to hate, and I honestly think that if you're picking it up on the discount level, it's one of the best bargains that you can get it for right now. This right here is my trusty 100 ml, but currently you can find some 50 ml presentations on sites like Fragrance Buy or Fragrance X for well under $150 US. So when you consider the fact that 100 ml retails for $370 US and a 50 ml retails for $250 US on the Bond website, I actually think that, again, these values on these discounter websites are extremely good. Usually I try to preach to people to pay for the art at near retail and or at retail, because if you really love something, you're willing to support it. That being said, I just don't find that this Bond and or most of them resemble the retail price remotely. Like, it's one of those brands whose retail prices I just wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. But again, for quite the deal, I think it's quite awesome. There it is for all of your crowd-pleasing needs. It's Bleecker Street by Bond No. 9, one of my longest lasting summer fragrances. Now moving on, we want to get to our work fragrance now, since we are largely going back to work, and now you want something for you that's not going to project too crazy, but you want to have lasting throughout all of your workday. But at the same time, since its DNA is so damn common, that's why I kind of want to just relegate it to your more monotonous situations, aka work. So this long-lasting work fragrance is Versace Pour Homme Dylan Blue by Versace. So what's cool about this Embrox and Bomb Sauvage-like scent is that, unlike Sauvage, I just don't feel like it's too crazy as far far as its initial projection. It also doesn't lean as sharp and mineral-like with something metallic in the back. So I feel like this thing is just right with its more subdued bergamot and grapefruit opening, which I still think is rather projection heavy, but again, not too heavy. Very delicious stuff, more so leans juicy rather than sweet. I just like it overall. And then the Ambroxan here, very hard to not get noticed with. It's gonna smell like you just showered. And it's either you're going to be that guy wearing Dylan Blue or Sauvage at the office, or one of the guys wearing it, just because I mentioned that a lot of people are wearing this nowadays, at least if you live in a rather sizable metropolitan area. And furthermore, as a result, that's why I wouldn't wear this stuff out. But again, for a monotonous situation where I just want to feel somewhat distinguished, yet not try too hard, I think work is perfect for this stuff. Again, projects beautifully, but not too hard. The longevity is there too, which ultimately this list is all about. And barring its lack of originality, as far as just a functional perspective, really hard to hate on this stuff right here. Price is also pretty fair on the retail level, and furthermore fair, of course, on the discount level too. So again, hard to nitpick. But yeah, check it out if you've yet to for all of your workplace needs. Again, it's a super long-lasting Versace Parfum Dylan Blue by Versace. Now, moving on from your fragrance workplace favorite, we're going to get into something that's a little bit more built for the night out. So your club and or nighttime offerings type of scent. For me, I take this scent kind of seriously just because of the fact that it is summer. So this is one of the more premium times to be going out at night. It goes without saying, of course. But yeah, what makes a great night out scent for the summer? Let me tell you, with this stuff right here, it's First Sight by The Gate. Now this scent kind of does everything for a summer night out. Very fresh and fizzy with some of its citrus yet soda-like notes, but you also have very much unique, very much sweeter notes that kind of make this thing lean almost gummy, you know, kind of almost into the direction of an Invictus or Paco Rabanne favorites, but not so much. It's definitely going to smell like a different scent, but we're talking a higher quality scent here that you'd reach for in the same kind of situations that you'd reach for that. And you might be wondering, why would I want to reach for something of higher quality during my most esteemed occasions? Well, for me, I think I just answered that question right there. You know, you have your hair done and you have something nice on, you're ready to kill it with the homies at the pub, you know, something like that. That's why you'd reach for something like this. But just because it feels even more jovial than something like this, that's why I'd only reach for this kind of fragrance during these kind of times for the most part. Like bleecker, I still feel like I could rock for my less impression-based affairs, while this to me at its heart is definitely a social scent. So again, that's why it's here. But yeah, very fresh, very citrusy, very minty, very juicy, and yet kind of fruity in a more gummy kind of way, with a little bit of a musky dry down. Just saying, this stuff projects beautifully on a summer night out. And I'm not gonna lie, I have oversprayed this stuff in the past, but your saving grace is that you are wearing this at night. So presuming the sun's already down and starting to get cooler, that's why I'm like whatever about spraying this. Some of these days I'll just spam this stuff, but depending on if you are on a budget or not, that's where I would kind of look out, just because this stuff is not cheap. So no, this is not one of those weird Manny CascadeScents-esque picks. I genuinely think that this stuff would bang for most of you guys out there. So once more, check it out if you've yet to. Again, it's called First Sight by The Gate. So yeah, that stuff is not cheap, but we are finna move on to the next fragrance on this longest lasting list, which is cheap. This is my cheapie of the list. And while I am someone who typically does have expensive tastes, sometimes I just want to kick back at home, just do things around the house, clean up or play video games or catch up on some emails, that kind of thing. I'm just kicking back, not really trying to impress anyone. And yeah, just to simply enjoy something that is chill, emitting off my skin, but something at the same time that has a little bit of bite. And I think I found just thing. Here it is. It's Wild Mint by Azzaro. So yet another minty fragrance like the aforementioned First Sight, but of course hella not that expensive. I know I don't exactly have an MSRP listed here for the Azzaro, but currently you can find it for around $35 on FragranceX and sites like that. So yeah, if you really like markdowns, this might be the scent for you, especially when I don't think it's actually at any current North American stockist either. So just saying. But yeah, this stuff straight up is exactly how it is advertised. You don't have a whole lot of stuff going on here, but with the lack of what's going on, I just feel like you're getting a really straightforward, aggressive take of whatever is listed in those notes that are marketed again. So what's advertised specifically as the opening note is Calypsone, which has this ozonic melon-like odor, and I think it really works for the mint to follow in the mid. In this fragrance's case, the mid happens almost ASAP too. Like, it really does feel like an untamed wilder mint here and just jumps off of my skin. So it soon overtakes that ozonic melon-like accord, and for the most part, I'll just get this towards the end until it gets a little bit more earthy, way more down the line hours in with some of that apparently Indonesian patchouli. Don't worry, it's not an earth bomb or anything like that. Rather, just complements the tail end of this scent rather well. But yeah, it's a long-lasting mint fragrance that is primarily mint for the most part, so it's hard to hate on that just because a lot of people are always clamoring for maybe a longer-lasting fresh mint fragrance. But I must say, since it is longer-lasting, it must be hella synthetic, and trust me, it is. So as someone with expensive taste for the most part, I might take issue with that. But since this stuff can be found for just under $35, I'm going to cut it a little bit more clemency. And again, I at least have a use for this when I'm just chilling around. Again, for your days where you're not remotely trying too hard and you just don't mind smelling like toothpaste for 9 or 10 hours. That's what this stuff is. So once more on this longest lasting summer 2020 fragrance list, this is Wild Mint from Azzaro. And last but not least, kind of the opposite of trying too hard, here is my formal fragrance on this longest lasting list. You want your formal fragrance to feel furthermore esteemed off of you. You know, you're going to try to dress like $1,000,000. You want to also smell like that too. And for most of you guys out there, I think I have this stuff. And you might think it leans a little vintage just because initial versions of this scent do feel that way, but not in this latest concentration. We're talking about this. It's Scandal Parfum Cologne by Raja Parfum. Now, if you know anything more about this scent and its initial concentrations, those concentrations typically more so come off as one of those true fougere style fragrances. Really old school aromatic with a citrus opening style of gentlemanly masculine fragrance from back in the day. So a lot of citrus, a lot of herbs, a lot of greens going on and whatnot. And maybe you, as not a connoisseur in this fragrance game, might find this stuff to be a little bit more old school as a result. But fast forward to late 2019, Raja Parfum actually did something to that DNA in here, along with others in the line, and tried to modernize it for more of today's consumer and also making it a little bit more affordable. So here it feels like you're not getting as beat over the head with that lavender, but you have a little bit more focus on the opening instead, which feels more jovial, again, modern. So here you also have spearmint, but again, not nearly as much as the last two fragrances. But I'm telling you, along with that lemon opening, it's one of the more beautiful lemon openings that I personally have smelled. And for it to usher you in with a lot of those other masculine aromatic notes, it just feels like a really nice, well-blended accord. Definitely fitting of a really nice summer suit or something that's at the very least smart casual. So again, you know, you're feeling yourself, you got a nice watch on hand, you're about to crush this lunch date, it's high-end social distancing patio season. Yeah, you definitely need something like this. So once more, again, definitely check this out if you have yet to. A less old school, way more modern take on the initial Scandal Parfum DNA. Again, this is instead Scandal Parfum Cologne by Raja Parfum. So there it is for him. That about does it for me for my longest lasting fragrances of summer 2020. Did I miss any summer fragrances? If so, let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know what you guys think of these ones. I think they're pretty cool for this time of the year. So on top of that, for more to come as well, definitely hit the subscribe button if you've yet to, so you guys can be amongst the first ones on this style of content. If you really want to be amongst the first, definitely hit the notification bell as well, so you'll always be notified for things like this. Until then though, thank you for your ongoing support. That about does it for me. Catch you next time. Take care for now. Peace out. Bye. Wear your fragrances.